Hey Julia, how are you doing?
Good, Rachel. How are you?
I'm doing great. To start, I have to be very honest. I'm from Pittsburgh. So this is a rivalry I know very well between the like when you watch that trailer and it says all these teams, I'm like, we hate the Browns. In general, we hate Ohio. And then we also hate the Ravens. And it's interesting to see it laid out that way because I've never thought about it as a division thing. I've always thought about it as no, we play them all the time and it just doesn't correlate. But for you, when you have people, from these cities engaging with this, what for you has been the most surprising thing about how deep those rivalries run between all of those teams?
Well, I like you're talking about yourself being a fan, and I think we see that really easily, and we see it on the field too, when we have players mic'd up. But like what's been really fun is to get those moments when we're inside the building where we have our robotic cameras around and we're like, oh no, these teams actually really hate each other. Because sometimes I think you can think like, oh, these are athletes and like, maybe they just want to win, doesn't matter who they're playing, but like they do not like each other. And I
Mhm.
think you see that with Minka Fitzpatrick and Jamar Chase, like their squabbles on the field. So it's fun to watch because I like to see people kind of shit talking each other. But kind of peeling back that layer for us back here has been really awesome to see.
Yeah, it runs deep. Literally, my friend is from Ohio, and the Ohio State UT game was on, and it was her birthday, and I yelled "Hook 'em" because I said Ohio can't win. Like I was like, I don't care that it is your birthday. I don't want Ohio to win anything. So it is fun to see that it is that deep for everybody, that everyone's kind of involved. But I also love one of my favorite things to watch when it comes to football are those mic'd up moments with the players because you hear the things they're doing to kind of kill time when they're not playing. Is there a moment when you guys were either even editing the next episode that's coming out, or just like throughout the season that you're like, this is actually kind of funny to hear that this is what this player is doing while they're in the middle of a game?
Oh man, and that is such a good question. And I'm just like my brain is spread across 8 different episodes, so I'm trying to narrow it down for you in terms of like what has been some like of our good moments. But like, oh, I don't know, Lamar Jackson going to Harbaugh, asking for like telling him to take a timeout. That was cool to see. Oh, you know what? I got it. The one, this is for your team. I love how Tomlin talks to
Mhm.
the other quarterback when he comes to their sideline. And it's in a really friendly way, which you wouldn't expect with a rivalry, but like with Joe Burrow, making sure he's okay. Like he's like, you okay, nine? I just think it's
Mhm.
those like little moments on the sideline that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see because you're just kind of thinking they're just thinking about the next play, and you're like, oh no, they're humans that care about each other. So that stuff is cool.
Yeah, Tomlin is one of the nicest. I grew up in the Cowher era, and so then to actually see, Tomlin being a nice guy, I was like, oh, this is different than what I'm used to because I grew
I
up.
think I think I became a Tomlin fan just working on this show because it's like he just comes across as just super authentic and genuine and fun. But I could see how if you're in that same division, like I could see the Ravens fans hating him and
Yeah.
everybody else because like he's just he's kind of really cool, and I think everyone would want that as their coach. So there might be some jealousy there. I'm not sure, but it's just Tomlin's very cool. I have loved. I'm sad he's no longer a part of the show, um, but it's been fun to watch him the past few episodes.
Well, and there's also you get to experience football in probably the best way because there's nothing like watching football in an actual arena and being in the stadium because I think football on TV is fine. I refuse to watch my team because they lose every time I do watch. But when you're in the stadium or like Heinz Field, because I'm never calling it what it actually is now, that's dumb. There's a different energy. And how did that help you guys when you were like going through the editing and doing all this stuff and figuring out what each episode was going to be? How did your experience in the stadium kind of help you guys?
So for me, I am actually not in the stadium. I am uh Sadly, I would love to be in the stadium. All of our like camera crews and our directors
Mhm.
are there, and we kind of have to split. I'll explain it a little bit to you because I think it's kind of interesting. But like we have like a large team back here. So it's like we have directors in the field, and as you can imagine, there was a lot considering we had four different teams, and then we have a lot of different cameras for our different wires and our sound cameras and our like slow-mo that you see. So they're all out in the field. They get to experience that energy. Um, whereas back here, we're going through the footage. And so it translates just a little bit
Mhm.
differently for us, but like obviously we all have experience being in stadiums and like want to like recreate that when we're editing. But we're back here just kind of with the quick turnaround. We're grinding here into the wee hours. Especially on Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays, just to make it air on Tuesday.
Mm, does that quick turnaround for you as a creative and a producer, does that excite you to know you only it's kind of like I feel like the experience of like Saturday Night Live where it's like you have to have that energy or else if it's not exciting to you then you're literally going to be miserable doing your job.
Totally, totally. I mean, the nice part is like like I was just saying with like the between the directors out in the field and then us back here is we're all on the same team, but we're separate teams as well. So the
Mhm.
directors, they're a team that the producers back here coordinate with. So being here late, um, makes us like even more unified as a team because we're like, hey, sure, we'd all rather be like cozy in bed, sleeping and watching, the game, having a beer versus like back here, like, all right, what plays are we gonna put in this show? But having like really good coworkers and support system makes the late nights when you're like going delirious, having seen the same clip like a million times and deciding whether or not it should go in the show, it makes it better because you have like, hey, this person's gonna lift this person up. So yeah, I don't know if it's quite like Saturday Night Live because I don't know if we get that same rush of going on stage because we're like behind the curtains. But it does feel good. Tuesday at about 1 o'clock is when it totally ships off to HBO.
Mhm.
Um, it feels good. You're kind of like, okay, it's done. On to
I
the
have
next one.
3 days to relax.
Yeah, yeah. Not even though, because we're already turning the page on the next show.
Oh
So
my
it's like, so the show airs on Tuesdays, but the Monday prior, we're already starting to pivot to the next show. So we kind of have people that just we're leapfrogging each other. So it's total madness, but it's worth it. So it's just like we love doing four teams because it gets to showcase four different teams and someone's going to make it to the playoffs, which
God.
obviously we're witnessing now.
With my team. But I do have to ask because it is very interesting to me. I was into sports as a kid, but I love media and movies and stuff more than I like watching sports. And my brothers are very big sports fans. And the thing that is currently uniting us is like Chad Powers because they're like, oh, that was an Eli Manning sketch. And I'm like, that's Glenn Powell being Chad Powers. So it's when you have those moments as someone who works very closely with football players and football teams, is that fun to see things that were bits within football communities then become more popularized in media?
Oh, totally. Totally. Like, because we never know what's going to go viral, and it's
Yeah.
usually stuff that we wouldn't expect. So, or the opposite will be like, oh, everyone's going to love this. And then it's like, oh, it goes over well, but like not a lot,
Not with
maybe it doesn't
my
get a lot of traction. So, oh, yeah, that's like, I would say when we know doing well on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, which is funny to even say because like 10 years ago, that wasn't even that relevant to our company. Um, it's fun. It's really fun. It's super rewarding. I love that. And that happens. We saw that in this show too. I don't know if you remember this clip, but Miles Garrett was talking to one of the Ravens offensive linemen who came up to him and said, hey, can I have your jersey? I know I'm a nobody.
Mhm.
And Miles Garrett is like, no, you're not a nobody. You're like everybody in this league is a somebody. And I was just like, oh, it just made me love Miles. And I was like, this is sweet that we get to these little special moments in the show.
Yeah. And it's really nice to see. And like for the last bit of question I do want to ask is my favorite new genre of TikTok, rest in peace, has been the like seeing the prep work that I think it's the Vikings do for for when they get a touchdown, their end zone dances, where they did like the thing from the Parent Trap and they're doing the High School Musical dance or whatever it is. now that they can do those celebrations again because we stopped them for a hot minute, is that fun to see like the preparation or like the thought process from the players prior to it actually happening on the field?
Oh, absolutely. I love when they do that and we get to capture it because like obviously it's hit or miss for us if we have the
Mhm.
right player mic'd so we can like capture that moment. And I believe Jamar Chase was I think we for show 3 we were able to get him practicing what he was gonna do, the gritty, and then
Mhm.
he and then obviously has to pay off they have to score. So
Yeah.
you're just like, fingers crossed because then it doesn't make sense to use it if they don't score. But I love that because they like I'm so glad it's back because those players, they really care about it and it's like fun. It's like extra motivation to get to the end zone so they can do what they want to do.
Yeah, I love them. They're my favorite parts. I was like, sorry to football. That's my favorite part of football is when they're like,
Yes.
I'm gonna do a dance in the end zone.
Yes. To be fair, I only love them unless they're against my team and then I hate them.
Yeah, exactly. Vikings, you're fine unless you play the
Yes.
Steelers.
Yeah,
Then I don't care.
I'm a Packers fan, so if the Vikings could not do that.
That's fair. That's fair. But thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for the rest of the season and for the Steelers to win the Super Bowl.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You too,
Bye.
bye.